Nigeria trashed Benin Republic 3 goals to 0. Now, is it a player brilliance or a tactical brilliance from the coach? We are going to discussing Augustine Eguavoen, what he brought to that game, if it was a player's brilliance or his own brilliance that won us that game. Okay, guys, if you look at that game, we set up to attack Benin Republic. We attacked and scored 3 goals. But generally, do you think that game was won because of his tactical play from the coach, or is it that just the player turned up and just scored those 3 goals and won us this game?
Yeah, I think for me personally, unpopular opinion, I know there are a lot of people who are going to come for me for saying this, but it has to be said. I think it's still too early for we to call this game, this win, this victory, this thrashing, this revenge match we saw on Saturday, to call it tactical brilliance from Augustine Eguavoen. Now, no disrespect to him, no disrespect to his pedigree, his credentials, his track record in the game so far in Nigeria. No disrespect to him, but it's too early to call it that. What I saw is a bunch of Nigerian players. You know, we have a rap sheet for Nigerian players. They are big boys, they play in Europe, they make a lot of money. Sometimes playing for Nigeria takes second fiddle to their illustrious careers at club. We have the likes of Victor Osimhen being the star man at Napoli, now on loan at Galatasaray. We have Ademola Lookman, who is on the Ballon d'Or list, which is a phenomenal feat for us. And we can be proud of them, but every single one of us as Nigerians have a feeling somewhere at the back of our mind that we had games where these people let games die without putting in their full energy, their full passion, their full commitment, you know. And so for me, Saturday's game was a callback display of what the Super Eagles should be like. Individual brilliance from Ademola Lookman, from Osimhen, the mentality. You know, you said something categorical in our show earlier today that if it was not for individual brilliance from these key men, that the game could have ended up a draw. And that's the way it is, because certain big names stood tall when the moment came and were very clinical in front of goal. Now, I cannot call this tactical brilliance from Eguavoen, because if you look at the way they played, this is just one game. It's an outlier. We need to see a trend of matches. We cannot analyze play style in all these matches, analyze instructions in all these matches, analyze the data, because data is life. We need to see those data. How many touches? Sorry, I'm coming. I'm coming. How many touches they are having? How they enter duels? What do they look like when they are attacking? What do they look like when they are defending? How do they shape and composure? Those things, it's too early to call it tactical brilliance for me.
Okay, look at it now. The way you said it's too early to call it tactical. Let's compare teams that have big names in their side and the coaches they played with. If the coach does not have anything to offer the teams, you see how the teams will just collapse. We talk about the Portuguese side. You were the one that was actually, off camera, you criticized the coach because you saw what he did with the Belgium side in 2018 World Cups. In the Portuguese side, he's almost doing the same thing. He had incredible players that could turn up tactically, that could turn up individually and give results. Yes?
Valid point.
But when the coach is not doing the right job, what happens? The whole team collapses. So you can't tell me individual brilliance from the players if the coach does not have a way of making it work. You understand? It's like an engineering component. You need to have a certain, what's it called? Certain instruments fixed in a circuit to make the circuit work better. You need to have the right midfielders. You need to have the right defenders. You need to have the right mentality. You need to have the right instruction to help your players play well. And if people come out to say it's not the coach's idea, it's individual brilliance, I look at them like, okay, fine. Let's look at what's it called? The coaches that have coached Argentina before. They had Lionel Messi, they had Di Marias, they have all of that. They have the Mascherano's and many good players in midfield. They never won anything until recently. Lionel came in, and with this same group of players, he's winning trophies back to back to back. You look at the Portuguese side, the man had something to offer, a little bit of something to offer. And they went on to win the 2016 Euros and the 2020 UEFA Nations League back to back. Now look at it, 2 trophies, and he left. And you look at also the French national team. He had these players, all these teams have individual tactically brilliant players, individual good players, but you need a coach to bring them together as a unit and make them work together.
Agreed.
I'm just saying, everybody just says no disrespect to Eguavoen. He didn't do a good job. But look at the way he's brought many of those players arrived late in camp, and he served them some warning. Some coaches just be like, okay, fine, let's relax. They are big names. He serves them their warnings.
See,
he took advice. This is one thing with coaches. They take advice from their assistants. They look at the game the way it progresses. They make their substitutions in regards to how the game is progressing. So look at the sub he made. You could see that from the sub he made, he was already brilliant on his own because he made those subs in the right sense, and those subs came on to seal the game up. It's
any bank average coach could have made those subs. Average coach could have made those subs. So we can't judge him on just subs. All I'm saying is, you quite frankly spoke about the former Belgian coach, the Portuguese coach. We can judge him and his time at those two nations based on results. Baba, this is just one result. We need to see a trend.
See, for the game to work well, you need to have a coach that understands that.
Granted.
Look at it now. Let's say Pesero, because in the other show we had a caller that said in the AFCON's finals they played like they lost their feet. And look at it. If you go back to that highlight, they played like they lost their feet against Ivory Coast in the finals of the AFCON 2023, they played like they lost their feet. Look at the way they played. Look at the way they are playing now.
2024 this year.
It was supposed to be played last year, but it was played this year. So okay, 2024. Look at the way they played then. Look at the way they played now. Then look at it now. Like we keep saying, in this team, most of the players in this team played against Benin Republic in the other games in the World Cup qualifiers 3 months earlier. 78% or 98% of this team played in that game, except for Victor Osimhen, who was not available, and Truss Ekong, who was suffering from some injuries at the time. Now, these two players were not available at the time, but now they are available. You saw the dominance in defense. You saw the progression in going forward. Though we know that these players instill fear in defenders. These players on the defensive side, they instill fear on attackers. On the offensive side, they instill fear in defenders. But yet, you could still see that Ademola Lookmans, the Chukwuezes and all of that, you could see that they had more energy. The Wilfred Ndidi had more dominance in midfield.
Okay, if you look at the way they set up, do you think that setup was about balance, defend, attack, and manage your midfield, or is it all attack? What are you expecting? What are you see? When you saw that game, what did you see in that game?
When you have time to prep for a game, because I think most of the players arrived early, though we had rumors or reports that some of the players arrived late. We could understand Osimhen's excuse for arriving late. He had medicals to attend to in Turkey. Kelechi Iheanacho and Maduka Okoye, these two players differently, but I don't understand why they came late to camp. But other players, most of the players arrived early, and most of those players that arrived early were starting. Now look at it, you arrive early, we prep for the games, we understand the instructions to play with. The assistant coach in person of Daniel Omugumo, they likes to play a high line. We've seen him play in the MPFL. The last time we saw him play in Enugu Stadium here and other matches against big sides, even against big sides, he kept playing the high line of defense, and he finished second in the table in the MPFL last season. The other man, the second assistant coach, he likes to play a high line of defense as well, with pressure from the flanks, with much pressure from the flanks, and you could see that in that game. And the head coach himself likes to play dominance in midfield. That's talking about Augustine Eguavoen. He likes to be dominant in midfield, and you could see all this play out during the game. Though we could talk about individual brilliance of the player, but they had instructions to play with. Now, I could give out a certain instruction, and because you're brilliant and you bypass those instructions, it might come out to hurt us. And when it hurts us, the coach will take the blame because he didn't give out enough instructions. So I felt like the whole team played according to instructions: high line of defense, dominance in midfield, and pressure from the flanks. That's just
granted. I have one question for you now. Augustine Eguavoen, according to you, is doing a fantastic job. Is the right man for the job, yes or no?
I'm not saying he's the right man for the job.
Okay, fine. You are just saying that we can't judge from this game.
Yes.
Okay, so but that's the same thing. Me too, I'm saying that you can't judge from one game.
You came with a lot of critics.
Sorry, look at what I'm saying. Yes, critics. This is football. Excuse me. This is football, and criticism is part of the game. Now, I'm telling Nigerians, don't celebrate too early till we see the data, because the litmus test for the year you are having is last year. Because with last year's data, you can upgrade this year. So for Augustine Eguavoen right now, with this crop of Super Eagles at this time in this point in time, we don't have any litmus test to test this man. So one match is not enough. So all I want to ask you right now is that after this win and you get 9 straight losses, would you still feel the way you are feeling at right now? Because that's 9 straight losses. I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you.
No, you can't. You're asking me, and I'm answering you. The next match against Rwanda,
I'm not done asking you,
which is a smaller team. What if you get a win then?
But I'm not done asking you.
Continue.
If after this win there are 9 losses, 1, players are not playing as energetic as they played today. 2, they are losing duels on the match. 3, they don't keep the ball. 4, they have defensive frailties. Organization going forward is nothing to show up for in the next 9 games. With this data now, which shows us that something is categorically wrong with Eguavoen, is this, with this data showing us that Eguavoen is not the man for the job now, would you still feel the same way you are feeling right now without knowing this?
No, so let's understand this. What if the opposite happens? Because you're not giving us the if he fails perspective, yeah? You're always putting things in perspective. If he fails perspective, is what you just gave us, the 9 straight matches coming next, which means the World Cup qualifiers against South Africa, the World Cup qualifiers against Rwanda, in the World Cup qualifiers against Lesotho.
Whatever the game is, 9 games, he loses all of them.
The AFCON qualifiers against the rest of the other people.
Just hit the point.
Now, if you look at all this data and you say, what if, because you're what if for if he fails, and what if he wins? Now, if he loses, and what if he wins? How will you feel? I say I can't feel this way if we lose. I can't feel happy if we lose. But I'm just saying, if you do well in your first game, you give you your credit. If you, because I'm talking about performance.
That's not what I'm asking. Wait, you did not understand the question.
It's the same thing I'm answering. I'm answering if he fails. If he fails, I would not be happy. If he wins, I still would be happy. It's just the same way. The same way I feel now is the same way I'll feel if he
sorry
wins.
To cut you short. Now
let's put this now. The same thing happened. I think that was 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we were looking for a coach to replace Genotra, and everybody was like, "Fine, Emmanuel Amunike is here. He's a good coach. He's done this place. He's done this here. He's done this here. He's taking this club from so place to so place." There's another coach on the list.
Can you be precise?
That went from winning trophies. I think it was Albania. He won the trophy in Albania after the club has not won trophy in about 30 or 40 years. Now, you brought that coach. He was on the list of coaches that could be given the job. What happened? We gave Pesero the job, and Pesero was a defense. Look at it now. People are like, no, Nigerian coaches will not demand respect from the players. That was the talk in quotes. Nigerian players will not demand, or perhaps Nigerian players will not get the Nigerian coaches will not demand respect from the players. And what happened? What happened? This coach came in as a foreign-based coach, and we didn't still get the trophies. We said play like people who were shot on the foot. Now, Nigerian coaches are here. We know coaches that could demand respect from players. Let them get the job. I'm not saying Augustine Eguavoen is the top man for the job. Even if you look at the list of coaches they dropped, his name was not on the top 5. Quote me anywhere. If you look at the list of coaches they gave that job to, they brought out to give that job, his name was not on the top 5, but he got the job. The same thing happened to Stephen Keshi at some point.
I find it funny that I ask a simple question.
I'm just telling you your perspective.
You use 5 minutes or more to dance around the question and miss the vein. I'm asking a simple question.
Yes.
This is reality. Now, let's use this as a case study. In reality, 9 months down the line, 9 losses. In reality, barring out the opposite. In reality, 9 games down the line, 9 losses and everything. All the things I said about the style of play and everything is totally trash. 9 games. This is your reality right now. And it turns out that this man is not, with all these results now, that he's not the right man for the job. In 9 games time, reality, no if or what. Would you still feel as positive as you are on day 1 if you knew what you know now 9 games later? That's all I'm saying.
The same question I'll ask you.
If
will you feel the same way?
I'm feeling
if
now.
The opposite happens.
See, look at what I'm saying.
See, John, let's agree to disagree.
Answer me, I'll answer you.
Let's agree to disagree. I will not feel the way you will not feel if the opposite happens. You understand?
So in that light, it's too early for you to call him the right man for the job.
I'm not saying he's the right man for the job. Like I said before,
it's too early for you to say it's tactical brilliance.
I said this earlier. I said if you have individual brilliant players and you don't have the right coach to put them together, you'll have a problem. But I also said this, that if you look at the team sheet of the coach that was supposed to take the job, the top 5 coaches, Eguavoen no there. You understand? Top 5 coaches, go and check the list. Tell NFF to call NFF on phone, check the list. In the for top 5. But Stephen Keshi, the same thing happened to him. In top 10, Stephen Keshi was not there. But what happened? At the long run, he got us the AFCON in 2013. Eguavoen might do the same thing in 2025 or 2026. Might. It's still a maybe. It's still a if and if. Because now big if for this sentence. If he lose 9 matches. But which coach for the right says go win first match, can't lose the remaining 9?
Bro, there are people who've done it in history. Go and check.
Okay, the arguments can go on and go on and go on and on and on. Now, Eguavoen is going to take the Nigerian second game tomorrow against Rwanda. Depending, the ifs are flying. If he wins the 9 games or if he loses the 9 games, we have to decide. But if he wins, he probably is going to stay in this job and take Nigerian Super Eagles to the World Cup if he qualifies, if he wins. So let's watch and see what Nigerian players will do. Is will be a tactical brilliance from him or player brilliance? I think it's supposed to be the combination of the two. Coaches win new games, big players win new games. So I hope both of them will find a solution or find a combination that works out for Nigeria. Let us win, let us qualify. See you guys next time.